So, good morning everyone to the last session before lunch this morning. This session is about showcasing the results of the hackathon that we had at day 0 or on Tuesday before the main conference. And I will be joined later on stage by all the hackathon attendees who are presenting their demos. But for those of you who may not know what a hackathon specifically is within the Alfresco community. A hackathon is generally an Alfresco tradition, conference tradition, since at least 2012, where there was the first formal hackathons. We had hacker rooms in previous Alfresco DevCons in London as well as Paris, as far as I know. I didn't join those because I didn't work with Alfresco that long until that point. But as a formal hackathon, before the event, it started in 2012. And hackathons in the Alfresco community are open-ended, anything-goes collaborations. They are not the competitive hackathons that you might know from the North American circuit, from the Silicon Valley types. So it doesn't revolve around creating the next big thing and making millions of dollars. It's just about creating something together which is useful for the community as a whole. Also, improving content, improving information for the community. So anything goes means you can do documentation, you can do maintenance on existing add-ons, for example, upgrading them to new versions of Alfresco, develop new functionality, new add-ons, or even do try some crazy hacks like stripping down Alfresco to the bare minimum required to run a Simoes repository, which I did 1 year. And this is not what I wanted, sorry. And it's also a great opportunity to network, socialize, with other Alfresco members, community members within the Alfresco community, learn from them, for example, new approaches to implement specific features, or in my team, for example, my teammates learned a lot about working with iCow, which I didn't have to use so intensively before. And also, of course, it's always a good way, a great opportunity to just have some fun, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the look over the harbor and the bridge, for example, in this venue, which was quite nice, and again, talk with each other and catch up. Well, if you followed the Alfresco DevCon hashtag, you will hopefully have seen the different tweets about the hackathon. So we started on Tuesday morning. We had about 55 users registered, or attendees registered to join, and it turned out that really a lot of those people that registered for the hackathon turned up, and we had a great start with basically standing room only discussion, how to continue, how to start with the hackathon, how to assign projects, and how to come together within teams for the day. As Yunus pointed out in his tweet, we had the highest ever participation in Alfresco DevCon hackathons. With this number, I think it was double the previous record that we had from last year at Beacon. So this is a great event this year with the attendance. And even if the hackathon already ends and people try to shush us out of the room because it had to be cleared and cleaned for the next day for the real conference, people stopped and didn't stop hacking until the last minute to get their project working. So hackathons in general within the Alfresco community happen 2 times per year, or they are is it biannual or is it semi-annual occurrence? Semi-annual, okay. Yeah, semi-annual occurrence. We have one in-presence hackathon, which is here at the Alfresco conference, or previously at Beacon or Alfresco Summit, and we have one virtual hackathon. A virtual hackathon means a global virtual hackathon, where we basically collaborate using modern technologies like instant messaging, IRC, Hangouts, Zoom, and collaborate basically around the world. So it's effectively a 36-hour event with follow the sun principle. The New Zealand or Australian guys start the event usually, depending on who joins from which region, and we then move around the world until the United States has the end of business. It's usually on a Friday, and as I said, we collaborate via those social media features or collaboration features. And typically there will also be some companies who sponsor rooms for hackers or for Alfresco community members to come together in specific areas and work in person in a specific location. For example, last time Xenit created a room where people from Belgium joined. We had one, I think, in Tieto in Czech Republic. Also in Barcelona, not Barcelona, but Keensoft had one hacker room. So there are usually a couple of hacker rooms around Europe where people can join, meet up, and work and collaborate in person. And India. So yeah, so Concentric last time Concentric was a big newcomer, a big new joiner to the virtual hackathon in India. If you want to know about when the next hackathon will occur, the place to look for information is the community platform, especially the collaboration space, where all information about hackathons is being presented or provided, as well as a historic overview of all the past events that have been conducted up until 2012, I think, which should be complete, the documentation. And you can also see some projects and teams that have been that have worked at those hackathons. So you can see what projects have been completed, where their results are, and where you can find the source code to maybe try it out yourself after the conference. Global Virtual Hackathon, just to give you some impression about how it works. This is basically the start of the day European time, so about 8 or 9 a.m. In Spanish time, a screenshot from Aachen, when we had our hangout with about 25 participants, or 5 by 5, 25 participants. So I think mostly up to the limit what Zoom was able to do at that time, right? Yeah. Oh, it's 50, so we still had room to expand. But yeah, it's quite a busy time when the Europeans start in the morning, which is usually where most of our active community members are. And we also see some people working in presence. For example, this was the Keensoft office, where they were doing their local hacker room. As I said, we had other hacker rooms as well. And even after the event is done, if there's a hacker room, people usually use this opportunity to, again, socialize, network, and enjoy the end of day together with a nice beer or nice wine, I think in some locations, and just have some fun afterwards. Unfortunately, and that's something that I want to give you as a kind of a call to action for the American partners or American community members, once we transition to the American time zone, we usually are just left with the Alfresco employees and the, let's say, the insomniac European guys who can't really go to sleep and stay up until a later clock. So we need more participation from North American community, from North American partners to join this event and carry it to the whole event and not just the Asian and the European partners and users. So hopefully everyone who's from North America can give this information to your colleagues and spread this around once you're back in the States, so that we have more attendance next year or this year. So just to summarize the statistics for this year, as I said, we had the biggest event yet, so about 50 participants out of the ones that registered. Of course, we always have some losses due to last-minute slide preparations or some work that needs to be done. So this is basically in line with our typical 10% of losses that we have, casualties, I would say. And in terms of the makeup of the hackathon, it's really a mixed bag of Alfresco engineers, Alfresco partners, as well as community members. So if you count this, we have about 20 community members that are basically customers, end users, or just service providers that work with Alfresco community. Which is a good statistic, we had about 20 people or 20 names which I haven't seen before in any hackathon. So 20 new faces joined the event and hopefully will help to make it grow even further in the next couple of sessions, next couple of events. I mean, unfortunately, we are not that numerous here today because we have a couple of parallel sessions going on, but I would like to ask everyone who attended the hackathon just to stand up for a second so that everyone can see who actually participated from this crowd. And you can see, even from, yeah. So, thank you for that. So you see, even from this, let's say, sparsely populated room, we have about half of the attendees who participated in the hackathon. And that's really something that we can be proud of this year, and I hope we can continue to keep this up in the next DevCon as well as next events. And just in comparison, last year at BCon, which was our previous record high, we had about 24 attendees for the hackathon. So we doubled this with this DevCon. So this is something that we can, again, be proud of. Just in total, we had about 19 project ideas prepared for the hackathon pre-conference. So they are all listed in the community platform where people can basically sign up for these project ideas in advance. But of course, most of the people who attend a hackathon usually decide what they want to do in the morning when they are able to discuss and network with the people who had those ideas. In the end, we turned out about 16 projects, 16 teams. Not all of them have documented their results yet, so this is basically just an estimation from what I gathered during the event. Hopefully everyone will finalize the documentation during the next couple of days. And some of those projects were recurrent projects that have been executed at previous events. For example, better trash management is a continuation of a project from the last virtual hackathon. We had the healthy repository add-on, which also is a continuation from the last virtual hackathon. And of course, we had our Methusalem project, which is content craft from Ray, which has been in a hackathon, I think, for the sixth or seventh time about, or even more, because I wasn't attending the North American conferences in the past, so it made me even more than that. So yeah, so this is basically the longevity champion or the Methusalem of our hackathon events. So, and before we are out of time, we have now selected a sample of 6 projects to showcase the results of those projects. We have about 5 minutes each if you want to give them equal chance to present the results. And then we might have about 5 minutes buffer at the end for any complex questions. But we can also try to do 1 or 2 simple questions during the demos when they are just finished their presentation, so that is in context. So with that, I would like to ask the first presenter up top.
Sorry. So sorry. Okay, where it is. Okay.
We won't need you for this session, I think.
HDMI. I'm just looking. Yeah, it is here.
Okay. We won't need it. Okay. Thank you. Just have to wait for him to make it available.
Is it working? No.
Yeah, sure. You will switch it. Just wait a bit. He has to switch.
Okay, okay. Good. Okay, so hello. Sorry. Hello, everybody. So my name is Filip. I'm from Tiago, and we were working this hackathon on healthy repository add-on. In short, about the background, in Alfresco there are a few recommendations how you should handle your repository. So for example, let's say that your folder or some folder shouldn't contain more than 10,000 files or folders, basically nodes. And there are other things as well, like hierarchy depth, nested permissions, groups and number of sites and those kind of things. So all those things are, let's say, best practices in Alfresco, and we decided to create this add-on which would cover some of those things. So since it was continuation task for us, we already prepared something during last virtual hackathon. I listed a few things what was done during Tuesday, but I think better to show demo directly, so you will really, you can see how it will. Okay, I cannot. Okay, so let's stop it here. Okie dokie. So at the moment, you can see, by the way, it is only Alfresco customization, so there is nothing done for share. And we extended Alfresco admin console. So on the left side, you can see healthy add-on. We have 3, let's say, parts or groups here. And the most important one, I would say, is the folder hierarchy. So that's something what I'm showing here. And basically the job which is handle or which process the whole repository and checks if there is some folder which has more than, for example, in this case, more than 1,000 nodes inside, then it will be listed here. And you could also check what is, let's say, you can go in the past, what was the result previously, you can run it with other parameters, and so on. So let's do a demo here. I also have order of the B support tools here, and let's run one of the jobs. So in our case, it's nodes hierarchy. Okay, and I hope in a few seconds it should be listed here. Not so far. Okay, hopefully it will be working. Yeah, it's there. So as you can see, a new, let's say, new row is here, and we can list, we can see what kind of folders have a problem with, let's say, count of nodes which are underneath. And the same applies for node depth, so you can easily check what is the node ref which is causing the problem, and you can see path. During this hackathon, we also merged together, let's say, all folders which cover basically this amount. So you cannot see here, for example, if there is another subfolder, it would be node depth 17, but we simply merge together and display only the parent folder. Yeah, so that's one thing. And another thing, one of our colleagues decided to also implement a solution for that. So it is in different branch, so I cannot really demo it, but he created a new tab called Organized Node. And if you have specific node which has the problem with so many files inside or so many folders, then we would define the location, what will be new folder name, and it could be divided, for example, by content types. So I don't have demo, but it would look something like that. So you specify really content model, which type you are interested in, and if you have, for example, documents, CM content, then it would be divided by types. So if there is some custom content type, it would be in different folder. And yeah, so that's about it. Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
So we save time.
How many person works on that? But also today, so in this period, and also in the virtual hackathon.
During hackathon in Ostrava, in Czech Republic, it was, I think, like 10 persons, but there were also like newcomers, support guys, and so on, and basically all people who were interested in Alfresco in our company. And on Tuesday, I think there were 4 persons. Yeah, 4 persons. So.
Good job.
Okay,
well
thank
done.
You.
Can you see that all? Great. So I came to the hackathon. I'll stand in front of the mic. That might help. I came to the hackathon with 3 different ideas, I think. Thank you. 3 different ideas. 2 other teams worked on 2 of them. I don't think they're presenting today, but we'll get the results written up. And the one I wanted to work on was looking at Amazon Macie and trying to get that to work with the governance services APIs and get that auto-classifying content using our new classification APIs. So for those who aren't familiar with Amazon Macie, it does some clever stuff analyzing content in S3, and then can provide a series of alerts about that. So the plan I had was that big picture on the right of the screen, your left, that's the quick start for the ACS repo. That's not particularly relevant for this demo, except for the S3 bucket. Once content's in S3, Amazon Macie can then pick it up and do stuff with it. So the piece I actually got implemented during the hackathon was that bit in the blue box. So I got Macie taking stuff from S3, processing that, firing off a CloudWatch event, and sticking that on a queue. And the next task is then to close the loop back into the Alfresco repo and create a Lambda that calls our REST APIs. And there's one technical hurdle with that Lambda, is that at the moment we can't do a reverse lookup on the S3 object ID and get a node ID. But that's something I'm going to take back to Maidenhead and talk to the product team on S3 connector and try and get that fixed. So if we look at Firefox, I'm hoping this will work. So instead of setting up the whole quick start stack, I've just put content straight into S3 and got that to trigger events. The content's fairly basic. I just threw some keywords into a text file and hoped that Macie would pick up on that. And if we look at the Macie console, what it does is it can classify data based on several different types. So you can do content types, and all of this is configurable. So you can go in and you can add new pattern matches. And the piece I was interested in was the themes, because that's where the classification comes from. So if you see the query at the top here, it's got the secret markings themes, and that's the theme that was being applied to the content based on that the text pattern matching within the document. And so what I was able to set up was, once those were detected and it found the secret markings, I then set up an alert in Macie, and that alert went into CloudWatch, and that ended up on the SQSQ, which we can see on this tab. Hopefully that, so those events have now gone from content just being uploaded into S3, and then all the way through to that SQSQ. So that's, I thought that was quite good progress for the hackathon afternoon, and hopefully now I can find some my time when I get back to Maidenhead to actually get that loop closed. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Then I would ask oh, you're getting up?
Thank you. We'll trade. Yeah. Angel asked me to introduce the team since I had the idea. Cloud Foundry is a framework that has been requested by a number of our customers, and Process Services supports it. On the content services side, we played with it, but our architect's not a fan, whereas I love the idea of cloud independence if it actually works. So I, being the good product manager, I threw the idea out there to see if somebody else would do all the hard work to make it real, and Angel picked it up. David has been helping, and they roped Dave in to learn about Cloud Foundry.
Okay, so the goal for the day was to basically expose the Alfresco repository, its CMIS interface, into Cloud Foundry. And Cloud Foundry is an open source platform as a service, and you can deploy applications really simply into it. It takes all the infrastructure pain out of the way. But applications need to be able to bind to services like a database or a message queue. So in Cloud Foundry, they have a notion of a service, and they have this thing called a service broker. So we built a service broker that exposed the Alfresco repository. And we had great fun doing it, right? And and actually I'm becoming, well, a little bit of a fan of Cloud Foundry, but not too much. So I hand over to Anton.
Yeah, okay. Can you hold me the... Okay. That'll work. It's nice. Okay, I'm going to find you the funny part, which is the demo. If I can find my... Okay. Basically, this is the development environment for Cloud Foundry. It's a local environment with all the cloud infrastructure. So we are running in that way. It's available for every platform. And come on, okay. So it has a web console to control your application and your services and how you bind the application to the service. So we have a CMIS service with the configuration. In this case, it's the public CMIS configuration for Alfresco. And we have a binding for our application. Our application, this one, is bind with that service. So we can make things so cool as gathering the repository information. This, okay, yeah, this is not very impressive, but but it's like that. And as we were encouraged about this success, we made even another new method just to find the children of a node also by using this CMIS API. If I find again my mouse, I don't know what it is. Okay, this one. This is probably because I have no the demo cap. Okay, no problem. So this is our second service that we were mapping to the CMIS API. Obviously, this is no. Wow, it's nice or not? I can see any wow on the room. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Wow. So, okay, obviously, this is not the way we have to work with this in the future, but it's a first step for a human, you know. And we have some fun, and we have very aligned with the cloudification of the Esplin services, right? And David is going to tell you also for a final words, a final thinkings about another alternative ways of exploring this new technology.
So we did a small approach to deploy Alfresco on Cloud Foundry, but we only deployed only a service, the CMIS one. And the future of the project, I think, is to have a Cloud Foundry build pack that downloads the bundle of Alfresco from the official web, and also make the bindings of all the services, and also deploy the custom properties or extensions that we have on our applications. And I think this is the final point of this project to deploy on all the Alfresco on Cloud Foundry.
Okay, that is a question.
I have a question. How many man-hours you need to do all of this? How many hours you need to do?
2 hours, more or less.
I think it's a great job.
No. We make this in 6 hours. Yeah. But I didn't know anything about Cloud Foundry 2 days ago.
Exactly.
So
I think it's a great job.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our subject of project is multi-tenant user because many our customers, especially business process outsourcing centers, use tenants for service their customers, and sometimes employees, for example, accountants, service many companies and have problem to see all documents in many tenants from different companies. So we would like to prepare a mechanism for simultaneously logging to many tenants and get documents from many tenants in the same time. It was 2 guys from B1 from Poland, and it was one of the first our contact with ADF. So I think we will show you that it is very quick environment to prepare even such an application, and we prepared part of in Java and part in ADF. And Lukasz will show you how it works.
So, at the beginning we log into Alfresco and upload some test file. Okay, I forgot the password. Okay. So I upload one file, test4, PDF, and now I log into our application. We used Iman generator to create a project template, and we create only one component to search in tenants. Okay. Live demos always trouble. Maybe one more time. Okay. I don't know. Alfresco works. Okay. Maybe one more try.
We have deployed it on GitHub, so we can download it, and of course, test it by yourself. So.
Yeah. So about all projects should be listed in the community platform with links to the results. So if anyone is interested in trying out any project, even if it may not work now during the demo because it's hot code basically, we've created it 2 days ago, so there might be some kinks. And all projects hopefully should have links to the results on GitHub or whatever code hosting site they're using in the community platform under the projects and teams page for the DevCon 2018 Hackathon. So go check that out if you're arriving back home or starting your work next week.
Okay, maybe now. I don't know. Okay, it's some problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so
don't worry about it. Happens every time. Usually there's one project that worked just 5 minutes before the demo and then for some reason doesn't work again.
Yeah. We haven't prepared screenshots because you know we thought
at the morning it works.
It will work.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's if you have any questions. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a question. We discussed this already during the hackathon regarding the fact that Alfresco is trying, or not trying, but planning to remove multi-tenancy.
Yeah.
This is something that I also had some discussions with other people in the conference today, or yesterday, about multi-tenancy feature. How are you planning to use multi-tenancy, especially with your Hackathon project now in the future?
It will be difficult for our customers to remove multi-tenancy from their environments, because they have lots of documents, and it will be much more difficult to prepare each Alfresco for each customers, because sometimes there are some small companies and not a lot of without a lot of documents, but in case especially they need multi-tenancy because of security documents from different companies, and it's in their policy of company and security policy. So I think it would be a problem because, for example, some of them have hundreds of tenants in one environment. So installing such an servers or environments would be a problem, I think.
Yeah.
So.
And one thing we discussed during the hackathon was basically also something maybe for Richard to respond to, because in the past when Alfresco has deprecated and removed features, they made it available as open source modules, for example, for community members to pick up. And this is something that maybe could be of interest to other people in the community to come together, and even then when Alfresco removes multi-tenancy, maybe pick this up as a kind of supported community add-on for those people that really need this in the future.
So a lot of the driver around our strategy on multi-tenancy is that we've seen very little interest for it. So I wrote down on my phone that I need to talk with you guys afterwards about your use case and your customer and things like that. If anybody else is really interested in multi-tenancy and content services, we should have that conversation. Yes, sir.
One place where we do see it is in the context of very large organizations. When you have more than 50,000 employees or something like that, and you're getting into hundreds of thousands of employees, they want to be able to parcel it up and partition it up. So it has its advantages.
And we also have an OEM business. We are very interested in multi-tenancy for SaaS OEMs. We have a number of customers, a couple of which are probably in this room, who use multi-tenancy in that use case. But the idea of multi-tenancy has changed a lot over the years. Dave Caruana pointed out a really good white paper that Amazon has, where they go through all the different ways you can segregate data and share resources between environments, all of which could be called multi-tenancy. So we want to dig in on specific use cases to provide the right thing. The separating divisions within a large organization can have a different technical solution than scaling to thousands of tenants in a SaaS OEM. So anyway, that's a little bit of a sidetrack. If people have more questions, you can submit it to Slido for this afternoon, or just talk with me later.
Yeah, thank you. And now to Ciju, Joseph, about APS integration with emails.
Okay. My name is Ciju. I'm one of the solution engineers working for Alfresco. So the project topic was email integration in APS. So when I looked at the hackathon list of projects, there wasn't anything until last week. So as a solution engineer, I always have something to do with APS. So I picked one of my to-do things as a project. The idea is like we don't have a good inbound email integration within APS. So to come up with some examples that can be useful for customers and partners to do actions via emails. So send an email to start a process, or reply to an email to approve a task, and pick that up and action it. The project team members, we were 7, so even though I had 4 people interested in the project, none of them turned up, but we got 6 other members on the day, so that was interesting. So myself, Dennis Kosh, Christoph from BMS, the partner in Poland, and William from Zoic. And what do? We built a little extension that's an IMAP adapter that can listen to emails and kick off a process. And that process will do things like start another process by using rules. So created using our DMN feature, or starting another process if the subject contains this or message contains this, or action a task, verify that's coming from a valid user who has a valid task assigned to him, so he can complete that task. Also, the third use case was, sometimes we get this question, like, I want to complete a task, but I don't want to be prompted for a username password, and we are not that great yet in the SSO sort of things. So until that's fixed, we wanted something, so a token-based authentication that can validate the user. The first part was done by myself and Cici guys, and the second part was done by BMS. I had trouble finding them, so I don't have that for demo, but I can demo the first part really quick. So the use case is this diagram which I just explained. To be done, we have to make the code available on GitHub, write a blog. I'll do a quick demo of this. Hopefully that works. So I'm just sending an email. Should turn up otherwise. See, the content of the email has been picked up, it's converted to a form. You can see it's gone through a few steps, it's identified that, run the rules, it identified that start a process and kicked off another process. The rules this is an example process how customers can use it. They can have hundreds of rules saying like the subject contains this, that, this, do this. So evaluated to the first one. And I have another ADF app that will show the actual process itself that got created. That's the claims process, because I had some indication in that subject to say this is a claims process. You can see the process. The subject is the name of the task itself, and there's a task there. I can send another email to complete the task. Just get the task ID and send an email. In real world, you would send an email that could open up a compose email thing with all the subjects populated for you. And send an action. Send it. So that got picked up just a second ago. And refreshing this page. So now it's approved. So that's it. Questions?
Yeah, any short question while we switch?
I know you said this, but I missed it. How many people helped you on the project?
7.
That's excellent.
So this will be the last demo. We are running a bit over schedule, but I hope you will excuse that we keep you from your lunch for like 5 or 4 minutes.
Okay. Okay, so in the last Hackathon virtual, me and Michael also, that is working in Madrid, could not come to the Alfresco DevCon. We work in a project called EUS module for ADF. So we did that for the ADF 1.8 using Alfresco generate component, if I'm not wrong. And for this project, we decided to integrate it with the Alfresco content app developed with ADF. And Ole, during office hours, challenged us to integrate EUS module in their component, in their application. So our output in this project was operating our module to the 1.9 ADF, and then upgrade also to 2.0 and integrate with the ADF application of Alfresco. So now a little demo. For connecting to Microsoft, to connecting to house, we need HTTPS, so with a self-certificate sign. So for a little demo. There is this little error, but it works. I don't know why. And it also happens in share. Now to confirm, I use share, just to. And that is. So was a simple integration. We just check how share did to open house, and we copy a little of that code and implement it in Angular and integrate with the Alfresco content app. The next step will be to do a little tutorial so other people can look how it's done and do also themselves creating components and also using in Alfresco content app. And that's it.
So thank you, Tiago. I think the AOS module is one of the first contributions to the ADF application framework, right? To the application development framework.
One of the first.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's one of the first community component we've seen, but it's one of the first contributions we've had to the content app for sure. So great work. Happy to see it.
We hope in the next week or so do a pull request to be integrated in your app and also to do the blog post that we talk so more people could.
Can you estimate the effort? So how you, Michael, Uncle, and the other, more or less how many time you need to do that? No? Okay.
Better not, because we start in 1.5, so it's complicated.
No problem. Okay. A lot.
Yeah, okay. So thank you again. This was also, I think, the first project during the hackathon where somebody collaborated with us during the hackathon from a remote place. Mikael, who couldn't be there at the conference. So even though we had a bit of a spotty Wi-Fi on Tuesday, this worked and they were able to collaborate on this. Before I close the session, I want to thank everyone who presented, because it was a big effort just to prepare the presentation during the conference while you have your own presentations to take care of, your room duties, or want to socialize and want to attend other sessions. So a big thank you to those guys who presented just now, because I know it can be a bit stressed to do this. Thank you. And with that, I thank you for attending and hope you have a nice lunch and a nice afternoon at the rest of the DevCon. Thank you.
Thank you to Axel for organizing it.